Be strong.
Why Europe doesn't build skyscrapers. Hi Leah, have you ever wondered why Europe doesn't build skyscrapers like in America?
Yes, I have. I think it's because of the historical architecture in Europe.
That's definitely a factor, but there are also building regulations and zoning laws that limit the height of buildings.
That makes sense. I heard that some cities have laws that protect their skyline.
Yes, that's right. For example, in Paris, there's a regulation that limits the height of buildings to 37 meters.
Wow, I didn't know that. But I think the lack of space in cities like Paris and London is also a reason.
Absolutely. In cities with a high population density, it's difficult to find space to build tall structures.
That's true. And I think Europe also values preserving its historical architecture and cultural heritage.
Yes, definitely. In America, the focus is more on progress and growth, which is why they have more skyscrapers.
But I also heard that earthquakes are a concern for building tall structures in Europe.
That's correct. In some countries, the building codes and regulations take seismic activity into consideration, which can limit the height of buildings.
It's interesting to see the difference in building culture between Europe and America.
Definitely. And it's not just about skyscrapers. Europe has a different approach to architecture and urban planning in general.
That's for sure. And I think it's important to respect both approaches and find a balance between preserving history and embracing progress.
I agree. Each approach has its own advantages and disadvantages, and both can learn from each other.
Yes, exactly. And I think as the world changes, it will be interesting to see how building culture evolves in both Europe and America.
Definitely. It's always fascinating to see how cities develop and grow.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to consider not only the present, but also the future when it comes to building and urban planning.
Agreed. Sustainability, safety, and livability are all important factors to consider in the development of cities.
Definitely. And I think it's important to strike a balance between progress and preservation, both in Europe and America.
Yes, exactly. It will be interesting to see how things develop in the future.
Definitely. And who knows, maybe we'll see more skyscrapers in Europe in the future.
That's definitely a possibility. As the world continues to evolve, building culture and practices will evolve as well.
You know, I think low-rise buildings are actually more beautiful than skyscrapers.
I totally agree. There's something special about the charm and character of old, historic buildings.
Yes, and I think they add so much to the character of a city. It's like each building has its own story to tell.
Definitely. And I think the mix of old and new architecture can create a unique and interesting cityscape.
Absolutely. And I think preserving historic buildings is important for cultural and historical reasons as well.
Yes, it's a way of preserving the past and maintaining the character of a city.
And I think it's important to find a balance between preserving history and embracing progress.
Absolutely. It's all about finding the right mix and making sure that the character of a city is maintained while also allowing for growth and development.
Yes, exactly. And I think it's important to consider the impact of new developments on a city's history and character.
Definitely. And I think it's important to approach development in a way that is respectful of the past and also embraces progress and change.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to consider the opinions and perspectives of all stakeholders in the development process.
Yes, it's about finding a balance that works for everyone and benefits the city as a whole.
Definitely. And I think that's why low-rise buildings are so important and add so much to the character of a city.
I completely agree. and I think they'll always be a part of the urban landscape, no matter how much the world changes.
Yes, and I think that's something to be celebrated. The mix of old and new architecture creates a unique and interesting cityscape.